Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Patreon and another technique video. I really appreciate you guys supporting me, and I hope that everyone out there is doing their best and getting to play some tunes and maybe work on your fiddle technique a little bit. So this video is on fourth fingers, pinky fingers. I think many moons ago I thought that my fourth finger mostly had to get strong for classical music, and then I stopped playing classical, and this was like 10 years ago, and started digging more thoroughly into like old time and old time adjacent fiddling styles, and found out that my fourth finger really needed to be strong and accurate to play in those styles the way that I wanted to. Old time in particular has a lot of these these moments where it's really cool to play your fourth finger in unison with the open string above, and often with some slide. So to be able to do that accurately without getting tired after like 5 minutes, it's good to work on some of those techniques. So I'm going to talk about some things that have been taught to me and have worked extra well for me. All right, so first of all, I want to talk about a little exercise that one of my classical teachers actually gave me like 10 years ago, 12 years ago or something. My pinky finger wasn't doing super well, and he told me that part of the reason was because I have long fingers in general, but my pinky finger is kind of short and my ring finger is kind of long. And so that difference made it hard for my pinky or for my ring finger to kind of get out of the way and my pinky to do what I wanted it to do. So he gave me some exercises that I have sort of adjusted for me, and I like to do these with both hands because your pinky finger on your right hand has to do lots of good work on your bow hand, and I might include some more exercises for that when I do a technique video about the right hand. But for now, here's a little exercise that I like to do because I can do it whenever. I used to do it in class all the time. I can do it, while I'm watching TV or whatever. So it's really about the independence of movement. We want our pinky finger to be able to move independently of the other fingers. We want all of our fingers to be able to move independently, really. But it's hardest with the pinky and ring finger. So to begin, to sort of demonstrate this, with your hands flat on the table, starting with your pointer finger, raise it up and down, trying to keep the rest of your fingers flat on the table as much as possible. Try and feel that middle knuckle contact with the table. Okay, pointer finger not so hard, middle finger harder, but still mostly doable. Your ring finger is going to want to come up a little bit. And then try with the ring finger. This one's pretty hard. You can see my left hand is better at it than my right, which makes sense. And you can get some of the other fingers up too, just to do the exercise. Pinky finger, last but not least, the goal. We want to be able to go up and down like that. So to work up, you can start with your fingers curved, like that. A little bit less curved, less curved. Play with those. You can also go in and out with your pinky finger. You can try to do your ring finger. These are just little finger exercises that you can do at any point. But I find them especially useful for my fourth finger. So give those a try. Alright, so I'm hoping that these videos will be useful for people who are maybe beginning, like just learning to use your fourth finger, because usually we start with just first, second, and third fingers, and then we'll add on fourth finger when a student is ready. But I also think that some of these things could be useful for folks who've been playing for years and just want to work on that strength and accuracy. That being said, this is something that I will often have students do when they're adding fourth finger to the repertoire. So it's tapping. It's not so much about accuracy as learning like in the last exercise, some more independence between the fourth finger and the other fingers. So the first stage might just be putting 1, 2, 3 down on any string, maybe A string to start with, and tapping the fourth finger about where it's going to go. And thinking about how it's hitting the other strings, how much it's curving, right? How much you might have to move your elbow in towards your stomach to get a nice curve there, because if you do want to hit your open, like your open E at the same time, then you can't have your fourth finger grazing that E string. And you don't need to do any of this with the bow. In fact, I wouldn't in the beginning. Just up and down. It's just getting your fourth finger used to that motion. And then what you can do is you can add a little scale. Tap, 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 back down. Okay, so like I said, this is especially useful for folks who are just learning to use their fourth finger. But sometimes it's nice to have an exercise like the last one that doesn't make any noise. You can just practice, having a nice space between the third and the fourth finger and about where it should match to the E. You can do a little test. So that exercise I call tapping. All right, so if you've done some tapping, and the next exercise is sliding. So I like to do, well, first of all, sliding is a cool technique for a lot of different fiddling styles, and it's really nice to be able to have your fourth finger sliding independently of the rest of your hand. Now, like I talked about in the first exercise, this is kind of tough for me. My poor little pinky finger, it kind of likes to collapse. You can see the joint likes to collapse when I get up there. Honestly, that's not the end of the world. It doesn't bother me too much. It's what works for me in my fiddling a lot of the time. Another version of this is sliding your third and fourth finger together. So sometimes my third finger acts like a little pusher and it gets my fourth finger where it needs to go. So that, without the third finger looks like this. With the third finger looks like this. And it kind of just depends on the context of what I'm playing, whether I do one of those or the other. But using the third finger for me is like a more solid, surefire way of getting my fourth finger note where I need it to go. And make sure to do this on all the strings. You can test your intonation with the open. And remember that the lower the string, the more that elbow needs to come in, especially if you don't want to be grazing the open string above. So like on my G string, if I have to do this, like you can see my elbow's really tucked in order for me to get that note, and that's totally okay. Try and keep your shoulders dropped so you're not kind of going like that. We don't want that. Try and keep them dropped, but this can move around, and that's okay. Okay, so if you've done a lot of sliding, then try sliding with the open string. Here's a little bit of Elzic's Farewell. It's a great tune. Just the beginning of the A part with that sound. And then the B part. Anyways, so give that a try and just give your fourth finger a chance to do its own thing outside of the context of a tune, and then see if there's some cool open notes in one of your favorite tunes that you've been playing with an open string, and see if it sounds cool to do it with a fourth finger in that double stop style. And it doesn't work everywhere, but it can definitely be a great technique. And I hope that's helpful for everybody. Thanks so much again for checking out my Patreon, and hope everyone is hanging in out there.